This perennial issue, is it going away? Not anytime soon, I don't think so. Rafia Hagan, the commentator, and Stephen Pound, the former Labour MP and commentator. Thanks for joining me, you two. Good to have you on board.
My pleasure.
Good evening.
Nice to see you both, and a Happy New Year to you both. Why don't I start with you, Afia? I mean, Anderson Cooper in the States suggested to Prince Harry that it would make sense maybe if he and Meghan relinquished their royal titles altogether. Prince Harry seemed to say he didn't think it would make much difference if they did. What do you think?
I don't think it will make a much difference if they did, but I think the key thing is this, that King Charles III won't take away their royal titles. It's not in his interest to do that. And if he does that, it will be seen as a petty and punitive measure. And he doesn't want to be seen as petty. It will also further feed into Prince Harry and Meghan's feelings that they were never wanted and were never wanted as part of the royal family. And so King Charles III will not go down that road. It's not in his interest to do that. Like I said, it will be seen as petty. You know, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. And I think that's what he will want to do. So it's absolutely not on the cards. I don't think it will happen. Let's ask Stephen Pound how he feels about that prospect. Do you think that Prince Harry should say, I don't want to be a prince anymore, even though he was born a prince? Can you de-prince yourself even if you want to?
Well, no, you can't, but I think he's absolutely made it clear that he doesn't want to be a prince. He wants to be a sort of, an extra in the next edition of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with all this tat about, I'm in a good headspace and all this business. Look, if I was Sussex, I would sue. Because, I think what has poor Sussex, that lovely county, done to be associated with this sort of whinging fool? And I have to mind you, York might want to have something to say about it as well. But look, the reality is, the way the constitution is in this country, the monarch could strip them of their titles. Parliament doesn't have any say in the matter. I think it's unlikely. I agree that it's most unlikely that it will happen. But in reality, if somebody had to plot, say, with Jeremy Corbyn in a potting shed on an allotment in Islington, the downfall of the monarchy, and that other person happened to be a sort of well-known ginger-bearded Californian expat living in Montecito, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised, because I can't think of anyone who's done more damage to the institution of the monarchy than this person. And when you think anyone who makes Wallace Simpson and Edward VIII look dignified, calm and grown up is really, really achieving something. I think this is a disgrace. I think if he wants to be, the monarch of Montecito, living in some ghastly Californian hippie hellhole, let him do it. But leave us alone, leave our monarchy alone, leave the institution of the monarchy alone, and stop trashing the brand.
All right, rather than respond myself, why don't I bring in our caller Patricia, who's on the line in Norfolk, and you both have a good old listen, and then you can respond to what Patricia wants to say. Patricia, thank you for ringing. I know we've kept you waiting somewhat. Hope you'll forgive me, and I'm so glad to have you on the show. What would you like to say? Oh, where's Patricia? Patricia, hello?
Hello. I think it's disgusting what he's doing to the country and people who actually cared for him once. And I find he's just a spoiled little boy that needs to grow up. And what he's doing to his brother and his father who's cared for him, he's acting like, oh dear, I've never been treated well, or this or that. What about children who don't have parents, who actually have gone through hell and back again?
Well, he's not telling their story, in fairness, Patricia. He's telling his own story. He can't tell the story of children who don't have parents when he's writing his autobiography. He's writing his own story. But when you say, and you began by saying, I think it's disgusting, what is disgusting about it? He's telling his own life story in his own words. Do you feel he doesn't have the right to do that, or he shouldn't be doing that? Why are you disgusted by it?
Well, you shouldn't do that to your family, because you have loyalty. You should have loyalty. And he's thrown that through the window. And when you think that what he's going on about, I think it's disgusting.
But quite a lot of what he says seems to be based on the idea that the family have not been loyal to him. He may not be correct in this, but he seems to think, doesn't he, or says that he thinks, that the family actively briefed the press against him and his wife Meghan. And when there were errors or factual errors or simply, you know, mistakes and lies in the press, the palace did not step up to say so. So you say, well, his family have been loyal to him. It's disgusting that he's not loyal to them. He would say, and has said, they haven't been loyal to him, hasn't he?
Well, really, in one fact, I think they've always been taught that you don't actually cry to the press.
Mm-hmm.
You like ordinary families, when things go wrong in a family, you keep them in the family, because it doesn't do any good at all if you spread it all round. It just makes a fool of yourself.
All right. Well, Patricia, obviously your feelings are high and you've used the word disgusting twice about Prince Harry. Let's go to Afia first. Afia, you know, do you see why Patricia and many other people are thoroughly disgusted? And actually, I keep being accosted. I've already said this on the programme today. Wherever I go, people come right up to me. Well, what do you think about it? And some of them say, isn't it disgusting? It's one of the first things they say. What would you say to them?
I think there's a few things at play here. I think people hold the royal family up to a higher standard than we hold ourselves and our own families. And therefore we think that they shouldn't complain, they shouldn't explain, they shouldn't have problems, they should just get on with the job of running, of being the royal family, of being the monarchy. But at the end of the day, they are a family. They are human beings who have arguments, who have disagreements, who have issues that they need to work through. Now, every single person on this planet absolutely has a right to talk about themselves and tell their own story. If they want to write an autobiography, it's absolutely up to them. What we can do is decide to consume it or not decide to consume it. Is decide to engage with it or not decide to engage with it.
I wonder whether Stephen Powell will agree that in this instance we have no choice whether we want to or not. My God, this has been force-fed every one of us, isn't it?
I do respect the way Afua is coming. She's a gentle soul, and I mean, like you, Vanessa, you know, you're subsumed with the milk of human kindness, and you're very keen to say the nice
so true.
But what we have here is a ghost-written misery memoir that monetizes grievance. And as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't use the word disgusting until this week, when what he did in terms of slaughtering 25 Taliban fighters and calling that chess pieces on the chessboard and painting a target on the back of every British serviceman and women, that was disgusting. And when I know but from personal experience in the armed forces, we often talk about body count, but it's the body count of our people. We never, ever, as Tim Collins said, put notches on the butt of our rifle. When he did that, even though it was ghost-written, maybe he didn't say, I don't know, but he crossed a line for me. It's one thing having a court jester prancing around in this sort of ridiculous Californian miasma of his, but when you start crossing that line and putting British servicemen and women at risk, which is what he's done, then I'm sorry, he's beyond an embarrassment. He's something we should just shuffle him off and forget about him, move on, get on the really important things in life. And Lord alone knows there's enough that's important that we should be getting on with.
Afia, are you surprised, Afia, by the level of interest, the level of vehemence, the level of kind of personal anger that seems to, you know, surge in people, or indeed the level of protective instinct to protect Prince Harry and Meghan? Because obviously there are some people who think they're terrific and they think that, you know, Harry's entitled to say exactly what he likes about his own life, and why the hell shouldn't he? And, you know, also I really do think it would take a heart of stone not to have felt terribly sorry for him when he was talking to Tom Bradby about the loss of his mother and how he and William just wanted to believe that she was still alive and managed to kind of convince themselves that maybe she was hiding and would come back alive one day. It was absolutely heartbreaking stuff, and, you know, every word of it's true and it's ghastly, isn't it?
And that's it. You're absolutely right. Those bits of the book are really, really difficult. And I do have to ask, you know, have you read the book? Because I've read it. I'm about 350 pages through it.
Please, can I have first dibs on your copy? I'm desperate to get hold of a copy. I haven't been able to read it.
I'll speak to you after, Vanessa.
Don't
worry. But what I will say is context is absolutely everything. And a lot of the headlines that we read are taken out of context because they're juicy pieces of the book. But in the context of the book, especially that section about killing Taliban fighters in Afghanistan, in context, reads actually quite differently. And I think that's really, really important.
What is the difference? How does it read, Afia? What's the difference?
It reads less kind of harshly. I completely understand what you're saying about, you know, putting targets on people's backs. We don't want to do that. We don't want Harry to put himself or his family in any more danger than he feels they're already in. That's why he left the UK. And absolutely, I am not about the glorification of war in any way, shape or form. I don't believe in that at all. And I don't think that's something that he would want to promote. But when you look at the context of how it's written and how he talks around that time in his life, it definitely is less harsh. And so I think when we are looking at the headlines, we have to remember that a lot of the stuff, until you've read the entire book, it actually reads quite differently. And it's not just about the royal family. There's lots of other stuff in there.
For example, what else is in it?
Question, there's lots of bits in it that are really quite funny. You know, when he talks about his mother's death, when he goes into the detail of that, that's really, really sad. And actually, I find myself getting quite emotional because some of the feelings he talks about reminded me of when I lost my own parent. And, you know, that's what he wanted to do in the book, is to talk about grief.